Here's what really happened if Trump so much as clears his throat. The media calls it a constitutional crisis. So, when an alleged hot mic moment surfaced, Trump talking about using power more aggressively in a second term, the left went nuclear. But let's take a step back. What did he actually say? And more importantly, what's the media trying to distract you from? It all started with a whisper, literally. A grainy clip from a closed-door donor event leaked, where Trump was overheard joking, "Last time I was nice. This time, we're going full power." That's it. That's the quote within minutes. Every blue-check journalist from New York to San Francisco screamed, "Authoritarian takeover." MSNBC aired the clip on loop with ominous music. CNN brought in democracy experts. The Atlantic ran a piece titled, "The Trump Threat Grows." You'd think the man announced martial law.
Laughter all around. That was Donald Trump today talking to the president of El Salvador, a man who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. And you could hear there what sounded like Trump promising that he's about to send to a prison in El Salvador the, quote, homegrowns, meaning U.S. citizens. He says homegrowns are next. You're going to need to build about 5 new places. The Trump administration has flown hundreds of non-U.S. citizens to this foreign prison in El Salvador already, including 10 more that they flew there this weekend.
What came next was almost predictable. Twitter threads exploded. Think pieces multiplied like gremlins in water. Headlines didn't just report they declared the end of democracy as we know it. But everyday Americans, they weren't clutching their pearls. Most rolled their eyes. They've seen this movie before, same outrage. Different soundbite. While cable news hosts hyperventilated, regular folks were too busy checking gas prices and figuring out how to stretch a paycheck. What the media sees as dangerous rhetoric, millions see as refreshing honesty. Trump doesn't tiptoe. He doesn't mumble through pre-approved scripts. When he says he's coming back stronger, they believe him not because they're brainwashed, but because they remember the difference. But let's break this down. Trump's abuse of power sounds a lot like doing his job, cutting red tape, firing career bureaucrats, actually implementing what he campaigned on, the twist. The same media clutching pearls over Trump using power said nothing when Biden signed 50 executive orders in his first weeks. This isn't about power. It's about who holds it. When Biden weaponized the DOJ, necessary. When Obama used executive privilege to shield fast and furious documents, strategic. When Trump talks tough, dictator, the hypocrisy is Olympic level. Trump's team clarified he meant he wouldn't let unaccountable officials block his agenda like they did in 2017. But the media doesn't care. Context kills the headline.
The Trump administration says they have no protection under U.S. law there, that this facility doesn't answer to U.S. courts. The people sent there are just gone. They're sent into that prison maybe forever with no way to be heard, no way to contest whatever the designation was that got the U.S. government to send them there. Certainly no way to get out, ever.
The truth is, the media isn't scared Trump will abuse power. They're scared he'll finally figure out how to use it effectively, that he'll learn the D.C. chessboard and stop playing checkers. Behind closed doors, you can bet the permanent class is sweating, not because he's lawless, but because he's learning how to win legally, faster, and without apology. And here's what really rattles them. He's not just talking executive orders. He's talking about cutting the deep roots entrenched departments, lifetime appointees, and stonewalling staffers who've survived for presidents. That's not dictatorship. That's disruption. And it's exactly what he promised to do. Man, let's be real. Trump learned from experience. His first term, loaded with internal sabotage leakers, backstabbers, unelected resistors. If he's planning to be tougher in a second term, is that abuse or finally effective leadership? The real headline, Trump won't play nice next time, man, the swamp's scared of it. You've seen this show before. Trump says something off script. Media freak out. Anonymous source close to the matter. MSNBC panel meltdown. Asterisk CNN banner. Dangerous rhetoric. Rinse. Repeat. But guess what? Asterisk most voters aren't buying it anymore. The same outlets crying abuse of power ignored real overreach, like spying on journalists, censorship collusion with big tech. Or the DOJ targeting school board parents. Now they expect us to panic. Because Trump said he'd be more decisive, please. Asterisk the irony. Asterisk the louder they scream danger, the more people remember how calm things were when Trump was actually in charge. To most of Trump's base, the so-called hot mic moment didn't land as a scandal. It landed like a rally cry supporters heard: resolve, not revenge, determination, not dictatorship. The message was simple. This time, no more playing defense. They weren't hearing a man threatening democracy. They were hearing someone who finally understands the machinery he's up against and is ready to act.
Ukrainians haven't agreed to hand over 50% of their valuable rare earth minerals to the United States for decades to come to repay America for what he insists has been $350 billion, sometimes it's $500 billion, depending on what day of the week it is, in his telling of US aid to Ukraine. So further evidence that he's absolutely still tilting everything in Vladimir Putin's favor.
And no pushback in the room. We've circled around this subject for a while now, but it's going to get worse, not better, because you would expect a journalist to say, hang on a minute, Mr. President, are you suggesting that Ukraine started the war by getting invaded?
Yeah, no pushback in the room. I mean, let's be clear. The White House is defying now a court order that requires it to restore the Associated Press, the news agency, highly respected.
To his supporters, that moment wasn't alarming, it was electrifying. It wasn't a threat, it was a promise to return smarter, faster, and more relentless. They've seen what happened in 2016, a Trump one followed by 4 years of legal traps, media manipulation, and bureaucratic sabotage. This time, his base is expecting him to come in with a plan, not just a message. They want less negotiation and more action. Let's drain the swamp slogans and more firings. You know what they're tired of? Watching one man fight 1,000 bureaucrats while being told he's too harsh. This time, they want him unleashed. And if he uses the system to actually serve the people, that's not tyranny, that's what every president promised but never delivered. That's why Trump's words landed. Not because they were scary, but because they sounded like something finally real. Something not watered down by consultants or sanitized for CNN. Contrast that with MSNBC's spin. He's plotting revenge. Well, maybe. But revenge against who? Bureaucrats who stalled policy. Agencies that refuse to follow orders. Sounds more like accountability than tyranny. The punchline to Trump's supporters: abuse of power just sounds like finally doing what he promised. The establishment doesn't fear chaos, they fear competence. Trump 2.0 wouldn't be surprised by DC games. He knows the players, he knows where the knives come from, and this time, he's sharpening his own. That's the panic. Not that Trump will go full dictator, but that he'll finally drain the swamp, and this time, it might actually work. So the media's running the alarm. They'll twist his words, clip his speeches, build their next round of narratives. But the real question is, will voters fall for it again? The closer, the mic wasn't hot. The media just couldn't handle the volume. Truth is, Trump wasn't caught, he was heard. And what he said, it wasn't shocking. It was strategic. He's not planning abuse, he's planning action. And that scares the people who've never been held accountable. Drop a comment below. Was this hot mic moment really that hot or just overheated headlines? Smash like if you're tired of media meltdowns over nothing. Subscribe if you're ready for more political truth with a little fire and a lot of facts. See you in the next one.